discussing the homicides that occurred yesterday evening on Hancock Street and Summerside Avenue. Before we start, I do want to just welcome you guys and introduce the guests and the command staff members we have here with us today. We have Mayor Van R. Johnson. We have Dr. ESTELLA SHABAZZ here with us as well. We have Crime Stoppers Director Larry Branson, who's going to be talking, and we have Chief of Police Roy Minter. We have Assistant Chiefs Lenny Gunther and Stephanie Price. We have Majors Devon Adam and Robert Gavin, and we also have Captain David Gay, who's over our Criminal Investigations Division. We have Lieutenant Andre Jackson, who is the supervisor of our homicide unit, and we have Sergeant Zachary Burdette, who is one of the investigators for our homicide unit as well. First, you will hear from Chief of Police Roy Minter, and following Chief Minter, you will hear from Sergeant Zachary Burdette, who will give a synopsis of what we have so far in regards to this case.
Thank you, Couture. Last night, about 10:30 last night, our officers responded to a report of shots fired in the area of Somerset and Hancock Street. Summerside and Hancock Street. Upon arrival, the officers made contact with two victims from gunshot wounds. Unfortunately, both of those victims succumbed to their injuries. This particular shooting was very troubling to us, considering the fact that also in the back seat of this vehicle was a 3-month-old infant in a child seat. That's part of the reason why we're coming to you and asking for the public's assistance with this investigation. Our detectives are working very hard on this case. They've been working nonstop since this particular incident occurred, and they're still upstairs working nonstop on this investigation. But the fact that there was an infant in the child seat, and we're pretty sure whoever the person or persons were who were responsible for this incident were aware that there was a child in that child seat in the back of the car. Not only was this very troubling from a community perspective, but we also looked at the welfare of our officers who responded to not only what turned into a double homicide, but a double homicide with a 3-month-old infant in the back seat. So we're also checking on our officers and checking on their health and welfare for responding to this. Of course, we're here today with Larry Branson from Crime Stoppers and several of our elected officials asking for the public's assistance. The detectives are looking for any additional assistance or leads that we can get from the community. But we're very serious about stepping up and breaking this culture of gun violence in our city. Not only did we have a double homicide last night, but we also could have had a homicide that could have involved a 3-month-old infant. So I'm going to turn this press conference over now to Sergeant Zachary Burdette, who will provide you with a few more details regarding last night's incident. Sergeant Burdette.
Good afternoon. Just to piggyback on what Chief Minter just said, our investigators got called out around 10:30 p.m. last night. As of right now, they're still upstairs working, trying to develop leads and follow up on information that has been gathered since this incident came out. We're very, very lucky that this wasn't a triple homicide with that 3-month-old child in the back seat. Our investigators were able to determine that the 3-month-old child was no relation to either person involved, and the 3-month-old child has been taken to a safe location and returned to their parents. Right now, we can't release very much information in regards to the investigation because we're less than 24 hours since the incident happened. But our investigators just need any help that the public can give us. Summerside is a very tight-knit community. It's usually very quiet, so this has been a tragedy that has struck home to a lot of the residents over there. Our investigators have been out there several times a day trying to develop information, and we're just asking the public's assistance. If you heard something, saw something, if you have video at your residence, even if it's a Ring doorbell camera, please reach out to us. You can go through our office, you can go through the violent crime tip line, or you can call Crime Stoppers and remain anonymous. That's all I can give in reference to that. The second thing, I'm just going to update a case that happened yesterday afternoon on Skidaway Road, where we had an aggravated assault involving some juveniles. We were able to identify an adult offender in that case. a 19-year-old who was taken into custody and charged with aggravated assault. The aggravated assault unit is still working that case to develop some leads, possible other suspects, and hopefully we'll be able to push some information out that shortly.
Thank you, Sergeant Burdette. We will now hear from Crime Stoppers Director Larry Branson.
Well, here we are again. Sadly, someone has information about the senseless killing of these two individuals. It could have been your brother. It could have been your sister or your father or your mother. It could have been a 3-year-old child last night. Gun violence is no way to solve any type of beef in this community. We are going to pay cash money for information leading to the arrest of the individual or individuals who are responsible for this senseless double homicide last night. If you know anything at all, call 234-2020. We never have to know who you are. It is absolutely confidential. You don't have to sign any paperwork. We won't even see your face. We would direct you to a bank where you can pick up that payment. You never have to testify in court. It is completely anonymous. If you have any information at all, please contact Crime Stoppers anonymously at 234-2020. The violence has to stop, or it might be you, or it might be someone you love the next time. Think about the parents of that 3-year-old child, 3-month-old child, and what they're going through. We don't want to have to endure this suffering. We have to live here peacefully together.
Thank you, Director Branson. At this time, we will hear from Mayor Van Arden.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Good afternoon. In a very general sense, is not to be able to compromise the good work that our police are doing. I will tell you our condolences go out to the families that were involved. They are Savannahans, and so therefore in our community, when one hurts, everyone hurts. Lately, we've been besieged by gun violence in our community. And I will tell you again and again and again that this is unacceptable behavior in a civilized society, and we will not tolerate it. And we will continue to have these gatherings until we're able to shake loose some information to bring these murderers to justice. When I was growing up, if you had an issue with somebody, you dealt with it with that person. We would go outside and be in that person. We just fight it out without fist. The issue goes away. We both live to walk away. And I'm convinced that's the reason why I'm standing here today. When you add a gun into the equation, the results become permanent. And unfortunately, we're suffering permanent damage because of a quick, seemingly easy solution. For us, we want to make sure that the folks who have done this know that you have reached a brand new low. 3-month-old babies shouldn't be in the middle of adult beefs, for whatever it is. And so we want to make sure that you're knowing, you're very, very clear, not only in this homicide, but in shooting incidents across our city, as we continue to work with our state to be able to help us to aggressively address issues of gun violence in urban communities, as we continue to support the excellent work of the fine men and women of the Savannah Police Department, that we're not going to let our foot up off the gas. As we continue to support the work of Crime Stoppers and the need for people to be able to have the convenience and luxury to be able to report crimes and information anonymously, we know it could have been your child. As the Director Branson said, it could have been you. And we don't want to have one of these press conferences involving an incident regarding somebody you love. So we're asking again, please, if you know something, say something. Don't wait. Don't debate in your mind whether it's the right thing to do, because you know this is dead wrong. And unfortunately, it's been deadly wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. At this time, Dr. Shabazz is going to come and speak at this time.
I came to this press conference to let the public know, along with our Mayor Van Johnson, that we stand in unity in reference to this issue as we support our police department, we support our fire department, and all the men and women that work on behalf of public safety in our community. As I stated earlier, that Dr. Martin Luther King made a statement and a quote that I'm going to quote again. And he said that the greatest tragedy of social transition is not the action of the wicked, but is the appalling silence to the so-called righteous. This has now, that we know now, it's been a travesty. This tragic of continuous gun violence, gun killing, and gun murdering, we might as well call it what it is. And we have got to break the silence in our community. Some decades ago, we didn't have these numbers of violent crimes. One thing, we didn't have all these guns roaming around in our communities, especially with our children and our young adults. If you know something, you must say something. And our systems that our professionals here at the City of Savannah have will protect you. You will be held anonymously from any type of persons contacting you or knowing who you are. We have come to this podium, into this place, into this room numerous times, so therefore the numbers must stop. In order for that to stop, we as a community must come together. The change with all of this that I've said and that you've heard in this space, the change in our community will start with us. It is us, the community. So there's going to be numerous conversations. You've already heard numerous conversations last night, all day today. We need folks to come forward. So those who have caused these killings, these murders, must be brought to justice, and we've got to stop the killing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shabazz.
You're welcome.
At this time, we will take a few questions. Please direct your questions to the appropriate person. But I will say, just to preface, that again, this is an active investigation. There is not much that can be delved into besides what was already released to you guys right now. So please keep that in mind as you're formulating your questions. There might be some questions that we cannot answer at this time. So I will open up the floor for questions.
Yeah, Detective Burdette, I kind of got one. I know it's early and that you can't really say a lot about the investigation, so literally just reminded us. But in terms of getting people to come out and say something and talk about it, is there anything like a vehicle or a description, or do you guys have a suspect at all at this point?
At this point in time, we're following some leads, but we don't have much to go on. That's why we're asking the public's assistance. So again, there were people outside last night when we got there as investigators, and granted we got there a little bit after the patrol officers did, and we're just asking those people, if you peered out your window when you heard gunshots, if you saw something. Sometimes you may not think it's important, sometimes you may think it's minute. It could be what breaks the case wide open for us, and that's why we don't care what information you have. If you have something, please call. Again, I don't care if you call our office, Crime Stoppers, doesn't matter to me as long as you call and give us the information.
Detective, obviously crimes are solved within weeks, sometimes years, but how much more beneficial from a detective standpoint is a tip that comes in within the first 48 or 72 hours?
The quicker they come in, the more beneficial it is for us, because people typically want to give us information faster if they have information, and it's easier for us to be able to follow up on that information. The sooner we get it, the better. That way we can try to vet the information and go ahead and follow up with it to figure out if it's something that's worthwhile to the investigation or not.
So there's an urgency to tell the public, don't sit on this, don't wait.
And
Let us know as soon as you can.
Absolutely.
Is there any danger to the public? Were these people, the parties known to each other? Do you have anything on that?
Based on the information that we have, we believe that this was an isolated incident. We're not sure if the people knew each other, but we don't believe that there's any type of danger to the people of the Summerside community.
Going off of that, do we know if they were from the Summerside community area or from?
The victims
Yes.
were not from that area.
Is there any further questions?
It was inside of a vehicle, right? The child was in the back seat when the two were shot. They were in the vehicle when they were
The
shot.
child, yes, was inside the vehicle.
But the adults were not.
No, all three of them were inside of the vehicle.
Did the victims die on scene, or were they transported to the hospital?
They were pronounced deceased on the scene.
Right. If there's any other questions or if you guys have any other follow-ups, definitely get with me after the press conference. But again, thank you all for being here as we address this homicide.